Hi, this is Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. Now today I'm going to do a little demo on the Holbein Artist colored pencils. Now I'm going to start with a reference photograph, and I'll show you a list of all the pencils colors I'm using, and I'll show you how great they are. They really go down smoothly and they blend so nicely. So let's go over to my drawing table and let's get started. And let me show you my setup here. I have my artist colored pencils laid out here. I have 12 of them ready to do this little demonstration sketch. Uh, the Holbein colored pencils come in different sets, and they all come individually at everestwatercolors.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a demonstration here. I'm going to do this little picture over here. It's got a flower pot and some flowers and a doorway. So that's my subject today. And what I've got laid out here is all the colors I'm going to use. I've got 12 of them. The first is, and I've also listed the color as name, and I've listed the open stock number here that's in my website on my supply page. The first color, and I got them lined up the same way here, and I'll have this list on the in the comments below, in the description below, so you can also get a copy of the list of colors. The first one is Carmine 042, and then the signal red, rose pink, magenta, Naples yellow, orange, holly green, viridian, forest green, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and black. Okay, those are the 12 colors I've chosen to do the paint. I lay out my pencil just like I do my palette when I get ready to paint. So it's the same procedure, getting the colors ready. And what I've done, my little chart here, I wanted to show you the colors I was using. I think those really are beautiful colors, and those are the ones I've chosen to match the photograph that I'm going to use as a reference. Now what I've done here ahead of time, I've laid out a sketch here in pencil, did an outline here of the areas that I want to show, and I'm going to start out with the reds. This is carmine and scar and and signal red. And what I'm going to do is start putting in. Now, when I put in the flowers, you'll notice here I'm not going to paint each individual flower. I'll look at the groups. I got groupings here of. So I've gone ahead and I've made a little outline here of the areas. So I'm going to be putting in areas of color, and I'll blend these in later, and I'll show you that little technique. So I've matched off the areas here. I got little areas of color. This is the reds, and then I'll put in the signal red, which is another kind of red color. So I'm mixing the reds up a little bit. And going back to my carmine, the carmine red, this will be overlapping the doorway here a little bit. Okay, then the next color I'm going to pick up is a pink. Now this is a pastel. This is a rose pink and magenta. Rose pink is a pastel color. It comes out of the pastel set. The first ones I showed you came out of the basic set and the design set. So I'm using all three sets today, plus another color which I'll bring up in a little while. So I'll put this rose pink down. I see some lighter colors in here, so you start with a pink color, and then I'll use the magenta. So the magenta comes in the pencil. It's just very similar to Holbein's watercolor paints. The colors are very, very close to the watercolor pigments as far as color, so they match very nicely. And also the barrels of these pencils, they also match the colors. So it's a very easy way to find the colors just by looking at the barrel. The barrels are very almost exactly the same as the pigment you're putting back on the paper. Okay, that's the flower arrangement. And I'll pick up the green. I've got 3 greens today. I've got a light green, which is Viridian. It's a nice bright green. That comes out of the design. It comes out of the design set. And these sets of 12 are very nice. I've got sets of 12 in both the design, the pastel, and in the basic set. And so I've taken a couple pencils out of each one today, because these are the colors I really want to do. I'm adding a little bit of Naples yellow in here, just to give me it's a little brighter, some brighter greens in here. So I'm adding the yellows in first. Then I'm going to go in and add in this is Viridian. So I'm going to go in, this is a brighter green. So I'm going to go in with the green here. And so I'm actually, I'm looking at the photograph, but also I'm coming up with my own design here. So I'm going to have the greens overlapping some of these sections here, which is what the photograph has. And up in this section here. And then I'm going to use this one here is a basic green, which comes out of the basic set, which is a Holly green. It's a little darker, a little richer green, but there are some shadows here. So I'll use this as a shadow color. Get some of that dark color here inside this flower, next to the flowers here. So I'm mixing these colors. I haven't blended them yet. I'm just kind of mixing them together. They do blend together very nicely. And then the last green is going to be the forest green, which this is an open stock item. It's not in the basic sets, it's an open stock, which means that you have 150 different colors that you can order individual pencils, open stock, and they're on my website also. You can get the sets, which will go up to 150 in a set, all the way, and you can get individual pencils individually, open stock. So if you buy a set and your colors get running, you need to replace a color, then you just order a separate pencil and to resupply. Okay, and then that's enough of the green. I mean, this is just a demonstration today, just to show you some of the. This is burnt sienna. I'm going to put there's a couple little stalks in here, or limbs that come out of the flower pot. I'll stick those in. Now the flower pot itself, I'm going to use this burnt umber. This is burnt umber, which comes out of the basic set. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start here. A little bit of blending. I'm going to start here on the edge of this pot. This will be the shadow side of the pot. The light's coming from left to right, so this will be the shadow side. And then I'll just blend it out very calmly, just very easily blend it out with a lighter value here. So this is how nice it is that it blends. So you're going to have the darks over here in the back in the shadow area. And then just light pressure. Give you the sun side, give you the lighted area. Okay. And then I'll put a little bit of orange, and I'll put a little orange rim on this one. Give a little color. And then the second pot I'm going to use, I think I'll use the burnt sienna. I think I'll use burnt sienna. There's a pot here behind, so I'll use the burnt sienna. So I'll come alongside of here. Now this one's behind the other pot, so this could be a little darker edge here. And then it gets a little lighter as I come out into the lighted area. So again, it'll be from light to dark. and it runs up here inside a little bit. So the edge will be, that's a hard edge here because it's light against dark. Okay. All right, then I'm going to take the black and the umber. The last two colors I'm going to use is the burnt umber. I'm going to put in the shadow here into the doorway. So I'm going to start out with the umber, burnt umber. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the color here in this doorway. Now this is a real fast sketch, just to demonstrate how to use the pencils. You can see how they cover the paper very nicely. They're nice and smooth. They cover the area very nicely with nice color. And then they blend together. Now I'm going to put the dark, I'm going to use the black back here. The black, the shadow part here, which is darker. This little archway here. This is a doorway which leading to the inside this building. And this will be a hard edge here because it's in shadow. So I'll make this a hard edge, so I'll make a hard overlap and blend in with the umber. And down here, we'll start on the far edge over here. Yeah, I'm just quickly trying to block this in. And using the black to get that dark shadow. And this has a cast shadow on here, so this will be a soft edge because it's just coming from those the light shining on those flowers, and it's casting a shadow here on the doorway and from the building. There's a building around here also casting a shadow, so it's going to have a dark shadow. But this part out here is going to be a little lighter on the left corner, and I'll describe that here in a few minutes here. This area here, which is the burnt umber section right here, is going to be the lighter side right there. And then the shadow side is going to be back here. So that cast shadow is going to be darker, and it's going to be a soft edge because it goes back and melts away into the background. Try to get this nice and dark so it shows up nicely. And define this a little bit. Okay, there's a shadow here behind the flower pot, so I'll use a dark color. So use the black back here for a shadow pattern behind the pots. There's also a shadow here. There's shadows inside, underneath the leaves and in the stems and so forth. There's shadows in there. And also there's a shadow here against the wall. So I'm just going to use very lightly here, just describe the fact that there's a shadow being cast here. The light's coming this way. So the light's coming this way. So the shadows are going to be on the inside of this doorway with a little bit of light showing, and it'll be a shadow against this wall. And back here, there's a dark area. So I'll fill that in. And I can use a little bit of umber on this also to blend that in. And what I'll do This has a sharp edge. It says this has a hard edge here because it's in shadow, completely in shadow here. And it'll come down here. There's a shadow right here behind the flowers. This is the hard edge all the way down. And then there's a shadow here. This cast from it must be a tree or something here above. So there's a shadow here. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of dark color. Just using a black here to simulate a shadow pattern. And there's a shadow behind the. And there's a cast shadow here from the leaves, or the branches, on the doorway. Okay, now I got the first application here of all the paints. Now what I want to do now is I'm going to blend, and rather than sit there and go through a blending process, I'm going to use the Melts, which is the color pencil blender by Holbein. And the way I apply that is I use a little tray, and I put a little amount here to squeeze out a little amount here on this little tray, and then I use a regular watercolor brush. It's water soluble. It's water soluble solution, and I'll just load the brush, and I'm going to go in. I'm going to use this brush now to go ahead and melt or blend this color. You can see how easily it is to. You can see how the Melts blends that color. It's almost like, it looks like almost like watercolor when you do this. And what I'm going to do now is take this, and I'm going to simulate the fact that there's a cast shadow here. Soften that edge just by having a damp brush. I'm going to soften the edge because it goes back into the shadows with a soft edge. And now the flowers themselves, what I can do now, what the blending does is it really points. I'm just going to take a few areas here. It really pops out those colors and brings that colored pencil. You can see there how that red, it really pops up. And I'm not going to do all of them, but just enough of them to give you an idea, just to show an idea here of how this blending works. And back here I can also blend this dark area to blend in that those pencil marks in the background, and also the shadow behind the pots. Now the last thing I'll do is touch up. I'll just touch around some of the greenery, and what that does, again, it will take that grouping of color and will blend. It'll blend its colors together very nicely. The last little area, maybe I'll touch this pot here a little bit, just to give a little attention here. And with just a damp brush, blending in that edge. And this one back here, define that hard edge here that I was talking about, hard edge between the pots. And touch up the orange just a touch, just to give a little jump in color. And that completes my little demonstration. And I can go over this again with more pencil and darken up the background and so forth, and I can make that darker. Now here's one I did earlier. I did a one I did before a little earlier. You can see how much I did it with a second layer on the doorway. You can see here how much darker you can make the pencil. Just a second layer of pencil and a little bit of the melts blender on top of that. So it can be darkened easily just by adding another layer of pencil. But that's a demonstration of the Holbein Artist colored pencils.